I'm thrilled, quite frankly, to have my friend back here on the Rich Eisen Show in a new show that debuted back on April the 30th, 3 episodes into The Veil, which is available right here on Roku through the Hulu app. My buddy, Mr. Josh Charles himself. Good to see you, Josh. How are you?
It's good to be here. It's good to see you, my friend. You are the best dad ever, by the way.
Well, listen, I know you are, because you got your son Rocco here literally watching us across the set.
Walking around the stage.
That's fine. He's exploring the studio space.
Exploring the studio.
That's fine.
Just giving Chris a hard time.
That's fine. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. It's great to be here again.
It's been a long
and you've just
time.
I was just saying to you walking over here. I mean this, guys. I remember being with you, and I want to say it was around the time we were watching soccer, the World Cup, maybe.
Yes.
Or maybe it was. That sounds right, right?
This might be like a 2008 situation or something like that. We've known each other for a very long time.
When did this one start?
This one started in 2014, so probably maybe could have been 2012 or 2012.
So it was around that time.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about really wanting to do this show and working out the deal and trying to figure it out.
Yes.
And every time I watch it when I'm in New York or I'm at home, and I watch it often, and I certainly watch clips a lot, especially when you're talking about Derrick Henry.
Yes, sir.
But I just am so happy for you, man, because you've made such a good show. These guys are fantastic. And the guests you have on are incredible. So I'm really happy for you, man. I really am. I know how important it was, and I think it's just an incredible thing you've created, and I'm proud of you.
I love you for saying that, because
really
to use the Goodfellas phrase, I've been cultivating this caper for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been talking about it, and you've been there from the very beginning. Like I said, you and I go way back like a car seat, and you know a lot about my life and about everything going on. You've been there for a lot.
But you know what? You deserve it, man. You do a great job. It's a fun show, and
thanks, pal.
I'm real happy.
I appreciate that, and interesting. You mentioned Derrick Henry. Let's just jump right into it, because I was saying, back when he was signed, that this is like if the football gods created an offensive player that is the ultimate Baltimore Raven, it would be. I'd imagine it would be Derrick Henry.
It seems that way, doesn't it? It feels that way. It feels right. It feels right. There are certain players. I think Roquan, from a defensive perspective, felt the same way, right?
Sure.
Just felt right. Marcus Peters at that time felt right. Their guys just feel like Ravens. And Derrick Henry, I keep saying Travis Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco's always giving me a hard time because I'm telling him I'm old. Sometimes I just make mistakes.
Nice, that's right. Yeah,
but Derrick Henry is going to be a great fit. So, yeah, I'm psyched. In fact, sadly, after the AFC Championship loss, Rocco, before we got back to New York, was just jotting down at my dad's house some notes. He said, Dad, here's what I think the Ravens should do. Mm-hmm. We were all obviously upset, but he wrote down this little note.
This is in the aftermath of losing the AFC Championship game.
This is in the aftermath.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go back to the timeline. I know it was January 30th, so I'm pretty sure it was after the game.
Sure.
But he said, hey, can you send this to Eric for me? Can you text it to Eric DeCosta for me? So I said, sure. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, Derrick Henry for a 4th-round pick.
Mm-hmm. That's what he said.
That was his idea back January 30th.
There it is. There's the actual proof. Is that on a good old piece of oak tag or something like that?
Like that
this looks like.
Why is it like folding up? I don't even know. And Rocco, is that your handwriting or my handwriting?
I think he's right. He's right next to Brockman right now.
I don't know.
No, that's Pop Al's.
Huh?
It is? I don't know. Maybe mine.
Okay. We're looking through my baseball cards over here.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
See, Uncle Brockman's on the case.
Dad.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. He's looking through baseball cards while Dad chit-chats.
Yeah.
And you did, in fact, send that to the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens?
Just put the smile on your face, and he said it does. And then when we actually, signed him as a free agent,
you didn't have to send him anything.
We didn't have to give anything away. I made a joke with Eric. Said, hey, can I tell my son that he played some small part in this? And he said, sure.
Go for it.
Have a laugh.
Dude, it's a perfect fit.
I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to see it.
Because the number of times that he would just be hit behind the line of scrimmage in Tennessee, and that's the way to stop him, is you got to stop him before he gets started in any way, shape, or form. I think there'll be fewer times in which he will have that behind an offensive line like this and a quarterback that if there's going to be any mesh point stuff between the two of them and you don't know who's got it.
No, it's going to be tough. Tough poison.
Or are they going to put, this is fascinating to me, are they going to put Lamar under center a little bit more?
Interesting.
And get the head of steam going? in a way that we haven't seen.
I can't wait
because
to see
it's
it.
Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying?
Excited about it. No, and you're getting me excited. I was saying, you know, I mean, you know this, but like after a loss, like I don't read anything, I don't watch anything for like and after the championship loss, I definitely like checked out for a little bit.
You're on darkness retreat? You went in your own little darkness retreat?
I went to darkness retreat, which happens quite often. And I'm pretty serious about it. And I'm the exact opposite when we win. And I can't read enough, can't watch enough.
Yes.
You know, I'm up till 3 a.m. reading, watching everything. So,
Right.
So I've just started to kind of come back into the fold of getting my mind set, getting ready for the draft. And certainly the Henry news was very exciting last month.
Yeah, I mean, that is as good as it gets in terms of a signing.
big.
And then in terms of the amount of money that they coughed up, if that is of any concern to anybody else, you know, because you're trying to build a roster together. And, you know, the loss of Patrick Queen, though, to the Steelers had to be an unkind
that
blow
one,
as
I
well,
mean,
right?
that happened at around the same time as the Henry. So it
Yeah.
definitely was bittersweet, that part, because I love Patrick Queen. And, you know, he was having such a great year. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Roquan, you know, once Roquan came, it elevated him, made him a lot better.
Right.
And I think that's true. Like any great player will. But Patrick Queen was having an incredible season before Roquan came. He was really stepping up his game. And he's a fantastic player. I really saw him going to Seattle or someplace like that. I didn't see him going to the Steelers. So that certainly hurts because that's one of our arch rivals. But it's football, man. You know what I mean? You got to take the personal out of it. I think, you know, you knew they were in a tough spot. They're going to have to sign one of those guys, and we got Matabikwe on a great deal.
No doubt.
That now, with, you know, you look at the other deals going out, it looks like a pretty darn good deal. So I'm excited about where we're going.
Dude, the guy I love the most, and I've told you this, is Kyle Hamilton.
He's pretty great.
Like, they joke around here that he's like my third son.
Yeah.
You know, I do love him.
He's incredible.
He's so talented, and I don't think he's hit his ceiling by any stretch of the imagination.
He's remarkable, and especially when you look at 2 years ago, his rookie season, of where he came from in that Miami game in the beginning of the year. Remember, he was getting burnt a lot and figuring it out, and just the journey he took that season and into this year. I agree, he's an exciting player, and look, you know, we're Ravens fans through and through, but I think we got a lot of great pieces, and I'm excited to see what happens.
I've got Josh Charles here on the Rich Eisen Show. The Veil airs Tuesdays exclusively on Hulu, right here on the Roku channel platform. Hit me on the Veil here, brother. What's
cool? It's a great. I mean, I love the spy genre. I mean, I'm a sucker for it as a fan. I mean, I love all the shows and movies, and I've never been able to make one. And this is really cool, limited series on FX. It's written by Stephen Knight, you know, Peaky Blinders creator, stars Elizabeth Moss. It's this fantastic, kind of like this great template for the world of spy stories, but also kind of has this intimate sort of independent film vibe. You know, it's a real nuanced kind of character study about these two women playing cat and mouse and playing a game of chess with each other, trying to figure it out. And it's also how all of the different agencies, DGSE, CIA, MI6, kind of work together on this one big situation. So it was fun. I got to do a lot of research for it and talk to some former CIA guys.
No kidding.
Yeah, which was really cool. And I got to film in France, and we were in Paris and London, and they filmed a bunch in Turkey. So it was really cool. I genuinely love the genre, and I was sort of just so bummed that I'd never gotten to be in anything in that world, and so it was fun to play.
So did you have to destroy your notes that you were taking down after these people?
No,
like,
because
or did they self-destruct?
No, he was retired, so I didn't give me any top secrets or anything. But it was more like, look, you know, it's kind of incredible because Stephen Knight is such a good writer, you know, and when you read great writers, you know, the writing just pops, right? It just sings, and so. Obviously, I was a huge fan of Lizzie, and I knew her a little bit personally, but never worked with her. Denise Tenovi, who produces the show, I just worked with, and I know Steven's work. So when they approached me about it, I was already intrigued and knew what the show was about. But then you read it, and it just pops. But when you go in and then you have to embody the character, you know, your job is to sort of bring as much authenticity and organic kind of genuineness that you can to the part. And so I knew nothing about the CIA, you know, absolutely nothing, only just as a fan watching. So my way in was more about, you know, one of the guys that I got to know and talk to was a really, really good dude. And he happened to be passing through Paris while we were shooting.
Yeah.
So we had dinner one night in a French cafe, and I brought all my scripts, and I took him to dinner. And we had like just a great French meal, and I just went through everything, just sort of peppering him with questions, asking him, like, what would happen here, and what would happen here, and you're just looking for little details, sometimes even just nonverbal things that you can, so that I just felt more confident, stepping into the role, and it was really helpful. I mean, I started before we shot, and then was lucky that he happened to be passing through and got to meet him firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, sitting in a French bistro with a spy does sound very Jean Le Carré, or John Le Carré,
right?
Like sounds like a Ronin, like a scene from Ronin. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty cool. You haven't been on in a while, but so we're kind of have a different platform. So I'm going to re-ask the question that I have asked you before.
Okay.
How old were you for Dead Poets Society again?
How old was I? Well, I don't know if we ever talked about this. I was the Dead Poets Society was supposed to get made the year before with a different director, and Ethan Hawke and myself were cast in the original production with some other actors. And I was set to go down to Georgia. We were supposed to film it in Georgia, I believe in Rome, Georgia. And I was set to leave like a week or two later. And the film got canceled.
Canceled?
Yeah, it got canceled. They were having a hard time finding a star that would attach himself to the project. With the director, they just couldn't find somebody that would agree to do it. And so,
in the role of the teacher, you're saying?
Yeah, they couldn't, in the Keating role. And so it fell apart, and I was devastated because I had screen tests for it. It was going to be my first big film, and then about a year later, it picked back up, and Peter Weir was directing it, and of course I knew some of his films, and I was thrilled, and but I had to re-audition for the film. So that was a really scary experience. And so that was, I don't know, the first time I think I want to say I was 16 and 17 maybe.
Look
or
at
15 and 16, 16 and 17.
Look at you right there, man.
Look at that.
Do you still have that W
cut.
sweater? Is that you still got that in your closet somewhere?
I don't know, man.
All right.
I'd like to talk to whoever gave me that cut, though. I'd love to have a word with them right now.
You reread for the role and you got it.
Reread for the role.
Jeez.
And so if you can imagine that, like, I was cast already. And Peter, I don't know what it was, if he just didn't see it or whatever. And, I had to go and show him. And I did. And I remember feeling really, when I walked out, kind of like, man, I gave it my all, but I don't know. And then he hired me. It was great.
How did Robin Williams get attached?
He then got attached during that phase. And then Ethan was recast, myself, and then some new actors. So yeah, it was a pretty great experience. And have some lifelong friends from it.
What's your favorite Robin Williams moment from that? Because you must have known who he was, right? Obviously from...
Yes.
Were you like a Mork and Mindy fan or something like that?
I was a Mork and Mindy fan, but I was also, when I was my son's age, I got really into stand-up comedy, even though I did it as a kid, like on open mic night.
No kidding.
In Baltimore. Yeah, I went to this Charm City Comedy Club. Used to have, my dad was in advertising, and some of his copywriters would write me these sort of Henny Youngman type jokes.
No kidding.
It's rough being a kid. It's rough being a kid, And I would do these things. You watch it now and you're just like, oh God, it's terrifying. But I was obsessed with Richard Pryor. And so that's all I would do. I would listen to Richard Pryor and I would just imitate Richard Pryor. So I would do that for Robin sometimes, and that would make him laugh. And that was fun. That was like one of our things that I've always felt really proud about, that I could make him laugh when I just throw some Pryor out. And then, I try to think the other things about him is like, yes, he's funny. He kind of, what I remember most about him was that, he was obviously the big star of the film, and we were all these young kids who haven't really done anything. But he was very respectful of like where his place was in the film. That this was like, this story was about all of us telling this together, this collective narrative together. So I always felt like he was very respectful in that regard, and also got to see like just a real quiet side of him. He's a human being, and obviously, there's just so many lessons to be learned from that. From people sort of projecting onto people that are famous, or stars, or particularly funny people,
right?
That they're not in pain, or going through something. And I think you could tell that just seeing him. He was a complex, just rich individual. And I had a great time with him. I very fond memories.
I don't know if Garp had already been out yet. I don't know what the timeline of this thing is, but
Witness had been out.
Okay, but
I remember seeing that in the movie theaters. And then,
but I don't know. Because I don't know if this was.
Well, witness. I'm saying Peter Weir. I'm sorry. I'm talking
Peter
about,
Weir was the director, right?
Film.
But I mean, I'm just wondering if it was just jarring to see him in a dramatic role. Like this is one of the first ones that he'd ever done. Where
I think, Chris, do you know, can you look up when GARP was done? Because I feel like I'm a little.
Maybe World According to GARP may have been out, I think, before.
I think you're right.
It was before. I've just been, they just looked it up in our
they know.
control room. But it just was always jarring to me to see that movie and see him.
Yeah,
in that role.
I'm sure that's why he wanted to do it. And look, he went on and showed numerous films after that. He was an incredibly versatile actor. And I guess that was one of the first ones that showed his dramatic side more than the other.
I'm just wondering, did we meet over Sports Night for the first time?
We met. I think we first met.
We did.
Either, I want to say at the ESPYs.
Maybe so,
because you were City Music Hall.
Right, and no, wait a minute. Of course, now I remember.
That's right.
Where you and Peter Krause
did something with you.
Kicked me and Stuart Scott out of our seats.
Exactly. It was like a whole bit
at the ESPYs.
Yeah,
that's where we met in Radio City.
Night where you weren't with us in my hotel room when David Wells headbutted me.
No,
Wait, what?
I was not there, but I'm keen to know how the story went.
Oh, all in good fun, but it was great. We had me and Peter. I remember we just had such a night that night. Somehow Wells ended up in our room, and I just was headbutted by him. I don't remember why. It wasn't done aggressively.
I'm wondering if there was a libation or two that spurred this on.
I think that's what we're talking about. It was more in that vein, but definitely hurt. It's a big boy.
Definitely hurt.
Yeah, even in my condition at the time, I remember it hurting.
We've been through so much that I had forgotten that's right. That was the idea. Stuart Scott and I were doing the show, the pre-ESPYs warm-up show, and then you and Peter Krause came in and kicked us out and threw the break.
Right.
You threw the commercial break.
I don't remember. Was it funny? I don't remember.
It was just, of course it was.
I don't remember. I remember hanging with you then first that night.
Yes.
And that was a long time ago.
That was definitely a long time ago.
Very long time
ago. And
then,
you've been, we've been hanging out since.
Yeah.
Then.
I mean, how long did they do it for at the Radio City? For a while before?
They did, and then they moved it to Vegas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and then that's where, it's been basically every single night in Los Angeles pretty much ever since then.
Right. What was it? Now, yeah, right, exactly.
It's in L.A. pretty much during the All-Star break every single year.
Break, they get, yeah.
Okay. So, Orioles World Series? Yeah or nay? What do you think?
Sure.
Orioles World Series, Ravens Super Bowl. It's going to be all Balmer.
Last year was a great year for Baltimore sports. Now, it didn't end well in the postseason for either team, but, we had to reflect. My dad and I and my son were talking. It was a great sports year for Baltimore. To have both teams so good and thriving.
Yes, it was
just the city was just buzzing, and I am so excited about the new ownership. I'm excited about the pieces that we have. These guys. I think the sky's the limit for the Orioles. I'm super jazzed about it.
Brother, and I'm super jazzed to see you here. New episodes of FX's The Veil, exclusively on Hulu every single Tuesday. You're the best, man.
Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you. The great Josh Charles, at Mr. Josh Charles on Twitter and Instagram. Check out, again, The Veil, right here on the Roku platform and portal through Hulu.